sucks. Neeb is going to win easily. Go USA!
All right. I do have a little bit of NA hype stuck in my eye here. Hopefully I can dig it out before we get into this card.
All right, enjoy the game, guys. Looks like it's ready to go. Have fun.
Round of 16, match 4.
In the top left, a good friend would say that he represents Ronald Reagan's America. He is
Ting, Neeb.
Hey, those are the new probies.
He certainly is. The Ihan Ree skin. Saw him equip that earlier. Oh, the USA chance of the crowd. I love it. And the bottom right here, Demauer himself. He is
Makers, ShoWTimE.
What, no Deutschland chance? All right.
I don't know, but I don't know if we want to start those over here.
Not yet.
So, like I said, I'm always super excited to see these two go up against each other because for me, it's undisputed that obviously Neeb has been the best NA Protoss. I mean, basically since forever. ShoWTimE, I know he had his dips in the early stages of 2019. I think definitely 2018 wasn't his year, but still, he got so much love and respect from his peers, from all the other Protosses in Europe. I mean, there are a lot of good Protosses in Europe right now. I think. Obviously you think of a HearthStream, you think of a Drogo, and all of these guys. There's a lot of very good Protoss players out there, but they all always say that ShoWTimE is kind of the guy. That's why I just really love watching these two go up against each other. I think in general, when they play against each other, they have really sick series as well. Like one game that I'll never...
It's very close, yeah.
I think one of the best PvPs I've ever seen. Oh my god, the memes are just coming out in full force right now.
Oh man, that's what happens when you have a nice big crowd there. A lot of great signs.
But I think when they played against each other in the Intel Extreme Masters 2016, as we see Stargate against Stargate over here, they had one of the best PvPs I think ever on Apotheosis. It was so freaking cool. What is ShoWTimE doing?
Double Zealot?
I have no idea what's happening over here.
The sign is flipped. The world was
the wrong way
around. Yeah, got there. Yeah.
All right, I think the Zealots have been cancelled and he started making Stalkers. Now, I guess he didn't scout yet, so maybe it was like a safety thing in case he was getting proxied. But obviously both these guys proxying. I like what Neeb said. He's like, well, I don't like playing ShoWTimE because ShoWTimE is very smart. And a little chitty chat with ShoWTimE this morning. I was like, so how do you feel about it? He's like, I guess it's okay. He's like, it's tough, obviously, but most players are going to be tough. ShoWTimE never really says too much. But I always feel that neither of these two guys really enjoys playing against each other because they're both kind of afraid of each other. It's like, he's the one guy I don't want to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's at that point where you're like, oh, I love to have close games, but do you really want to have a close game when it's a single elimination tournament? It's yeah, of course, you'd love to have that player that you're favored against or the matchup that you prefer, and PvP is so wild right now.
Yep, and I also understand that ShoWTimE would have preferred to play, somebody else, just for the excitement factor. Last year he went up against Zest, and he had a great showing in this tournament. Neeb, I don't think it happens that often. I'm definitely not sick of it, but I understand that he would have maybe liked to test his skills against one of the other players in this tournament. But hey, there's still plenty of opportunity for that Maynard if he can get past Neeb. Now it's Oracle against Oracle. One basic Oracle, one very sexy Oracle.
That's right. There's basic Oracle coming into the sexy main here of Neeb.
No shield battery.
No, and his Phoenix isn't out yet, but he does have a couple Stalkers here to help out. Oh, yeah, the Oracle's actually going to die here.
Oh, no, this is bad for ShoWTimE. No, I don't know where the Stalkers are, but they're way out of position. So he's not only losing way more workers, on top of that, he's losing a lot of mining time as well. Oh. I actually wouldn't have minded to see him suicide the Oracle for like 2 or 3 more, because there is a Stargate, so there is a chance your opponent makes a Phoenix as well. But I mean, Neeb is in an absolutely phenomenal position now, just because he did way more damage. I mean, these two Oracles, they are going to suicide. Let's see how many workers they'll get. I mean, that's actually...
4's pretty good. I mean, like you said, they are suicided though, so ShoWTimE going for the recall. The Phoenix is not as good against the Oracle as it used to be, so it does survive. Gets back home, but...
Yeah, that's kind of nice, but it's very likely that it will still get found eventually. There's still an Oracle on the side of Neeb. Overall, I think that Neeb is very satisfied with the start, especially because he's got the Phoenixes out, and now he can slowly but steady start chipping away further at that work account of ShoWTimE. You won't get 7 or 8 probes immediately, but if you just get 2 or 3 a couple of times, you're going to create a very big worker advantage.
More and more Phoenixes coming out here. Rotterdam back arches, these nostrils flare as the Phoenix count gets a lot higher. Neeb going to be able to rule the skies for quite a while here. Shield battery being dropped down for Demauer, so respecting the potential harassment here of these air units.
Where's the Oracle? Is on the right top side, yeah. I feel like that's actually kind of predictable these days that people put it. I think like maybe putting it in the right bottom side is like slightly better. put it behind your own main war line. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, this is only the first game in this best of 5, and I think PvP, if there's one matchup that is like never over, it is PvP, right? Like, either of these two guys can take a 2-0 lead, and they can still end up losing the series. That's just the way it is, especially when, you know, builds like this, like you said, this is a very explosive matchup. You know, games can end very quickly. You shouldn't be too attached to like a single map result. I like this a lot better for Neeb so far than I like it for ShoWTimE, but ShoWTimE is still in it.
So I was about to say, with the Forge going down, I would have thought a faster Templar, or rather Twilight Council from ShoWTimE, but Neeb actually drops a little bit earlier there, and definitely a quicker Robo. The Robo can make a big difference here in these upcoming fights, while ShoWTimE is potentially going to have a lot more Stalkers, or you know, he's switching to charge lots, which is definitely what you want to do at this point in the game. Neeb with the robotics facility unlocked means, you know, not only is going to have the Immortals, which are going to be fantastic in a Warp Prism, something that Neeb likes to do in this matchup a lot, is get a couple of Immortals in a Warp Prism and just have that presence, especially considering he owns the air with these Phoenixes.
Yep. No,
that's a very, very strong strategy.
Absolutely, especially because he forced out quite a few Stalkers as well, right? And Stalkers are never going to be good against that. I would love to see Neeb doing exactly what you just said. I think that would make a lot of sense. He's going to try to get some good economic damage done here. The Phoenixes could actually fly in. They could maybe even lift the Stalkers while the Adepts would go to town on the Workers. That's the wrong neighborhood, but now the Phoenixes should be able to get... Why are you going for the main?
There's a lot more Stalkers up here in the main, so yeah, it's a little weird. They come on in, the Oracle gets targeted down, and Neeb just sort of like, oh wait, took the wrong turn here, wrong part of the neighborhood.
Okay, that was really clumsy.
Yeah.
Everything that Neeb did there was clumsy. He had a very exposed mineral line in the natural to attack. In the end, he's still going to dive into the main base here, and he's going to get a couple of Workers. We'll end up losing at least one Phoenix, and this second Phoenix is going to go down as well.
For 8 probes though, and the Oracle's still alive.
Is it though?
No. Once again, the wrong turn here. So a few interesting army movements here of Neeb, definitely getting punished for it. Maybe starting to fall apart a little bit there as far as that goes. But it looks like he's done with the air army. Right now it's about getting a big ground army. And speaking of which, ShoWTimE moving across the map here with a fair few Stalkers.
Yeah,
halfway through Blink.
I guess Neeb just couldn't see what we see, right, obviously. And I think he just expected there would be more units in the natural than it would be in the main base. So he just kind of went for the main base blindly, but obviously the natural would have been a much better choice. Overall, I think it was all right for Neeb, but he's going to have to be a little bit careful, like you said. Like, Zealots, Immortals, and Archons are definitely way better than Blink Stalkers in this matchup, but sometimes there's a little window where these Blink Stalkers can absolutely shine and really start getting a pretty decent lead for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, enough Stalkers can kill pretty much anything in this matchup, but he needs to make sure that he hits that critical mass before Neeb gets multiple Immortals out, especially if they get +1 attack, because the bonuses do stack. The proxy being dealt with here, so the Stargate's down and it's done with. Oh my god, Neeb actually got an Immortal stuck in a stasis here.
Yeah, and he also activated the barrier already on the Immortal on the top side, so that's technically, you know, only one Immortal that's still fully
Yeah, he won't let him get this one back.
Well, Blink is done. Yep, he blinks forward, and that's the one that didn't have the barrier anymore. I would have loved to see him fire one more shot. But now he's going to be able to try to get the other one as well over here on the low ground. I mean, ShoWTimE is making some really good plays, and Neeb is kind of throwing away the advantage that he had.
Really nice moves from ShoWTimE. We said it like a couple minutes ago that he's going to have the Immortal advantage. Well, I mean, technically he still has it because there isn't actually a Robo from ShoWTimE yet, but the Immortals have really been reset here, and ShoWTimE continues to rule the side of the map. All the Phoenix is coming back into the mix here and catching a few probes. No shield battery there to keep them alive.
No, that's kind of what he needs, right? Because ShoWTimE is up 10 Workers. I definitely think that Neeb is going to be kicking himself a little bit if he does end up losing this game. I don't want to go too far because I still think the army that Neeb is working with is a lot stronger than the army that ShoWTimE is working with. But considering how things started, I don't think that ShoWTimE should have ever been in a position this good.
Yeah, I mean, Neeb's got charge quicker, we can see that. He's got Archon tech as well. ShoWTimE is starting to get his own Archons into the mix as we speak here. And that Oracle continuing to give him a little bit of information, a little bit of harassment as well. Just continuously using recall to keep that Oracle alive. He's been doing a very good job with it, honestly.
I know, keeping an Oracle alive 9 minutes into the game against a player that has Phoenixes and obviously has been looking for it as well, I think is very impressive. Now, once again, the supplies are a little bit deceiving because it may look like, oh, ShoWTimE is like pretty much even and he's doing a really good job here. Yes, but he's got a lot of Stalkers, and these Stalkers are really going to fall off in the big fights. But it's up to ShoWTimE to get as much value out of them as possible. This is what I like to see, by the way. Like, I was actually going to talk about this. Like, a lot of people are bored with PvP when it comes down to only Zealots and Archons and Immortals. You're like, oh, this is so annoying to watch. But I really love the slightly slower games where it's like, could we see Colossus over here, Maynard? Like, Colossus have actually become a little more popular again, and I've seen Neeb use Colossus. Now, of course, Disruptors are still incredibly good in this matchup too, but I really wouldn't mind to see Colossus over here.
Certainly. It'd be pretty nice to see. They definitely help out a lot against that charge lot meat shield that everyone seems to have in this matchup eventually.
You just need to get like up 4 to 6. Like if you can get up to that number, like that's so freaking massive. Like obviously 1 or 2 Colossus doesn't have that much impact. Now Disruptors are still phenomenal, so I'm not going to say that it's impossible that it's going to be Disruptors, but let's see. No, it's going to be Colossus. I'm so happy about it. I think it's so cool. No, he got it!
Debated.
Yep.
So the Disruptor is going to be playing into mix here. Neeb second guessing that Colossus tech. Disruptors are a little bit more better in a pinch. So if you're under attack, I like the Disruptors popping out defensively, especially considering he has that high ground, and there's only one observer here for ShoWTimE.
And he wouldn't have Thermal Lens in time, right? I think he knows that ShoWTimE is getting ready to attack. I think it makes a lot of sense here what Neeb does. Like if the game was indeed a lot slower, I think the Colossus would have been a better choice. I don't like these units being out of position though, on the right side. That's another Immortal that just got picked off. I just think that Neeb has been a little too sloppy with his Immortals this game.
He certainly has lost quite a few, and his Archons only got picked off as well. They're pulling back to that base. Here come the Disruptors from Neeb. They're going to need to connect nicely here to force Demower back.
Little trigger happy there, but at least he pushes the army back. There's only a 6 army supply advantage right now for ShoWTimE. He's going to look for an opening. I can't believe that Oracle is still alive. That's ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. Well, ShoWTimE does still have a couple Phoenixes alive in the game. Of course, Neeb does as well. So the Phoenixes are the best tool here against the Disruptor if you could possibly get it picked up off the ground. Going for another Archon pickoff here. Does actually get it. And it looks like another Disruption wave there from Neeb. He loses a Disruptor there.
Yep. Really well done though by ShoWTimE blinking forward, still getting some value out of these Stalkers. I mean, normally they're not supposed to be that impactful here. A couple of probes are going down in the natural. A lot of probes are going down in the natural. I think that's the Oracle, right? That must be the Oracle.
Maybe.
10 probes going down just like that? I don't know why Neeb was trying to go up to 4 bases. No, there's the Oracle. Oh, it's a DT.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Disruptor goes down as well.
That's pretty big there. Looks like a Nova didn't get the fire. Disruptor got killed before it actually connected. These Disruptors also being lifted out of the fight. Demower pushing forward here. Neeb, though, holding with a lot of Archons, still pushing forward.
Yeah, actually surprised that fight is going that well for Neeb there, but he took a lot of economic damage, so he needed a victory. The Phoenixes show up as well, lift one of the Immortals, incredibly well done there. ShoWTimE turns around and fights, but I don't know if he can fight this army,
No, he actually made a bit of a mistake there, Roddy. He's been playing so well and making the right decisions all game long until that moment there when Neeb actually took a great trade, and now his army's going to be hitting pretty hard here. He is down a lot of workers.
There's only one observer, and I don't know where it is. Now, of course, there is an Oracle with that army as well. I say, of course, no, that's not an Oracle. That's actually a Disruptor. So, where's the ops? Okay, it's on top of the army. But if that one observer goes down, like Revelation could be used, and then the Phoenix can just snipe the observer, and then DTs can keep you safe. ShoWTimE!
ShoWTimE starting to hold on here. And it looks like some charge lots coming in from Neeb to try and help him out in the fight, but the Archons of ShoWTimE are so powerful against him. He's cutting through. Neeb's Archons on the south are still alive. His Disruptor's on cooldown still, so he can't really help out in the fight. But even if they've got to fire off its Nova, it cannot stop ShoWTimE's defense. And he holds on. A pretty wonderful game one there from ShoWTimE. Very few mistakes. You know, the start of the game, a little bit shaky. Neeb had a very, very good start of the game, but the mid-game seemed like it was all the German Protoss there.
I think ShoWTimE did a phenomenal job in defending against the Phoenixes and the Oracle that was left. And then he obviously hit a couple of very good moments. Neeb seemed pretty eager to go into that Colossus tech that I was very excited about and I was ready to talk about. But then he's like, well, wait a minute, I'm getting attacked right now. I need to get Disruptors. The Disruptors, they never really had the shots that you're looking for. And on top of that, there's Dark Templar running into the natural, getting 12 kills. And suddenly, ShoWTimE puts himself in a really good position. I think that Neeb is going to be relatively frustrated about that one, because with the start that Neeb had, I don't think you're supposed to give away an advantage like that.
Yeah, definitely were a few mistakes there from Neeb. Like we said, you know, his army getting caught a little bit here and there. He's flying units, just sort of flying over Stalkers, losing an Oracle for free, losing some Phoenixes a little bit wastefully. But, you know, that is game one, and this is a best of 5, so still plenty of lives here for the American hero Neeb to come back. And let's get into it, guys.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the top left side, currently down the series, but more than willing to tie it up. He is
Ting, Neeb.
In the bottom right, the European Protoss, hailing from Germany, currently up in the series. He is
Makers, ShoWTimE.
He's been looking so good lately, especially the last couple of months. Recovering from a shoulder injury that you're always really worried about when you play Starcraft. Your shoulder is very important, along with your wrists, your forearms, hands in general. But He actually recovered very, very nicely, almost too nicely.
Yeah, no, we
the last WCS.
We joked about it quite a few times, but it really feels that this shoulder injury is the best thing that happened to ShoWTimE in a little while, because
Yeah.
his play got so much better ever since in the WCS events, in Challenger. He just, overall, he looks incredibly good. He looks on point. And he's starting to look more and more like that 2017 ShoWTimE, that absolute monster that we were kind of used to back then. You know, I think it's really funny when these two guys go up against each other, because if you ask me, Neeb versus ShoWTimE, who do I prefer? I'd be like, well, you know, like, I would always kind of predict Neeb to do slightly better in a tournament than ShoWTimE, but when they play against each other, for some reason I'm favoring ShoWTimE slightly more than I favor Neeb. And like, I don't know what it is, but it seems like Neeb, I think he's so damn good in PvP, I really think he is, but it seems like whenever he plays against like a Stats or let's say a Classic or ShoWTimE as well, very often it's like, I feel like he loses some of that confidence that makes him so damn good in this matchup.
Yeah, I feel you there. Seems like he maybe second guesses himself a little bit, like you got to be so decisive and have a game plan set in stone against players like this.
Like obviously that last game, like I said, you know, we see everything, we knew where the units were, but I feel like if Neeb was slightly more on point when he shaded in the 2 adepts into the main base, he sees the amount of Stalkers that are in the main, he should have immediately turned the air army around and just settle for the natural there. There's 3 Stalkers, 2 Sentries. You can even kill the Sentries very quickly. The Stalkers, they have to work on that Oracle first. He would have been able to do double the damage and with like half of the losses or something. And these are mistakes that I just don't normally see from Neeb in this matchup.
Definitely didn't expect him to lose air dominance in that game for sure. When those Phoenixes fly in and lift up his Disruptors, like it felt like that, you know, if those other Phoenixes were there, that wouldn't have happened. He would just been able to fight back and Disruptors would have gotten those money shots that he desperately needed. So ShoWTimE's probe goes down here. Both players have gotten a good scout off. ShoWTimE first to expand, Neeb just slightly behind. And ShoWTimE getting an extra couple sentries here as well, showing that he just wants to sort of chill for a little bit here.
Yeah, that's the old school opening. Well, old school. It used to be new school, now it's old school. It's going to be Robo against Stargate. Now, obviously, in general, this is pretty decent for the Stargate player, right? Because none of the units of ShoWTimE are going to be very fast, and they're not necessarily going to be in great positions to defend, but hey.
And they don't shoot up.
No, I mean, Sentries and Stalkers, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They
But I'm saying the Robo units don't shoot up.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing that you think you can really get out of it is obviously observers, but how many observers do you truly want to make, and how many air units is Neeb truly going to make as well? So I think overall, like, you got to be quite pleased with this if you're Neeb. But this is a scenario that both players are very, very familiar with. I mean, this used to kind of be the standard. It's a real, like, the European thing, right? There's like the 1 Stalker, 1 Sentry, and then the double Sentry. All the European protesters loved it for a while. These days, we're getting a little more crazy again in this matchup. Wow, that's a War Prism, by the way. That gives me the idea that ShoWTimE isn't even thinking about defending, but that he maybe wants to apply some very early pressure.
And with these Sentries, you can actually load them up and use them very aggressively as well. Force Fuel on the ramp can be really deadly here against the player that has that expansion, and with their army locked on the outside.
This is actually
those
dangerous.
across the map. Yeah, this is potentially very, very bad.
Yep, Neeb needs to get a shield better, I think, at home. But obviously the Adepts have so much potential as well. These are the new Adepts, by the way.
Looks sexy.
Yeah, actually everything looks very cool. I often feel that like the Proto skins, when they announce them, it's like, these are the Proto skins. I'm like, that doesn't look that cool. But then I see them in game. I'm like, hey, they're really cool.
Yeah, it always looks better. It always looks better in game than on the video.
So I wonder if this...
Stalker catch.
Oh,
Nice,
okay, that's
nice,
actually
nice.
very nice, especially because we had the idea that ShoWTimE maybe want to be a little bit aggressive, or he's just using this Prism to warp in 2 Adepts in the main base, and we know how deadly 2 Adepts can be in the main base. This is very cool. It's not that common to see this, but I like it a lot.
He's using the shades for a little bit of vision here.
What do we have in the main base of Neeb? Like, I truly wonder about that.
Yeah, but I still don't think he has any shield batteries or anything here defensively. ShoWTimE does load up 1 Adept. Definitely you want 2 if you want to start being a huge threat to the probe line.
That's a good scout as well by ShoWTimE, spotting these 4 Adepts of Neeb in the middle of the map. I mean, this is going to be very hard to deal with, I think, if you're Neeb. If your units are out of position, you just don't expect 2 Adepts to show up in your main base in this phase in the game. Neeb is getting ready to deal economic damage. ShoWTimE is getting ready to do the same thing. Neeb is investing a lot. ShoWTimE is investing very little, but I actually think ShoWTimE is going to be able to pick off way more workers.
Yeah, that's very potentially true here. The natural of ShoWTimE keeps getting poked by Neeb's shades.
Oh, that main base is going to be so hard to deal with.
He only has some units back at home. He's only lost 4 probes so far.
Yeah.
And it's also shown off that he's doing this. So now Neeb is going to be aware of that prism.
Still though, lost mining time, 4 probes going down, not a single unit going down.
Yep.
Neeb is supposed to be the one getting the worker damage done. It's actually ShoWTimE who's doing it. So, okay, it wasn't as deadly as I feared it would be, but it's still really good for ShoWTimE.
Certainly. And Neeb's not finding any love here with these Adepts. ShoWTimE keeps locking him down. He got a Stalker earlier with the Adept and the Oracle sort of in tandem, but now he's losing the Adept here, the Stalker presence of ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE getting Neeb off his front lawn and going straight in a charge of Templar Archives. Also a decent enough force field to just try and push Neeb back. He has a huge flank of Stalkers as well. Well, not huge, but huge enough to potentially pick up the unit here.
Well, we call him the Mauer, and so far he's showing us why, because ShoWTimE is playing really well this game. I'm very, very impressed with his unit position and his unit movement. He's just not allowing Neeb to find any damage at all.
Both players are heading towards the mid-game of PvP here. The charge on Immortal Archon phase. Well, the Archon's going to be here a little bit earlier for ShoWTimE, so you know, the sort of the way that Unicomp works is that the charge lots of your meat shield, the Immortals and the Archons are your damage from the back line, and the Archons really hammer down.
For feedbacks.
Oh yeah, that'd be tasty.
Yeah, that would have been very cool.
So the Archons are really what you want against those charge lots, as they do that lovely splash damage. So many hit points.
Archons is kind of what you want against like everything, up to the point where you get like too many Archons, and then suddenly like, it's really funny, right? Because people often like, are Immortals good against Archons? It's like, technically they're not, but at one point they start becoming good against Archons, because if you have too many Archons, they start blocking each other. But obviously, especially Disruptors and Colossus can become incredibly useful against high Archon counts, but there is that sweet spot in like the early mid-game until late mid-game where Archons are just king in this matchup, and they're good against everything, even against other Archons.
Alright, we've got a Prism here from ShoWTimE in towards the main. Neeb does have some units to meet him though, so he's going to get pushed back for now.
It's not PvZ ShoWTimE.
And the Oracle's also getting a tag there on that Prism, so that's going to be able to do anything without Neeb knowing about it. And he still has these Adepts as a presence on the other side of the map. Maybe you can get some probes at the third base here.
I complimented Neeb a lot, or excuse me, ShoWTimE a lot for his defense, but I want to give it to Neeb as well. Like, I do like that Neeb has been like somewhat patient, you know, like it's very easy to think like, I open a depth with Oracle, I need to kill probes now. Like, I really feel like he's displaying some great patience as well. Be like, you know, my opponent is simply playing very good, he's ready for my attacks, I'm gonna take it easy, but I'll keep looking for openings. I'm not gonna force it, but I'll keep looking, and I really like the way that Neeb has done this.
Neeb sacrificing some Adepts here for some probe kills, but so many units here from ShoWTimE. He's going to only lose 2 probes to 2 Adepts. Obviously not the greatest trade there for Neeb, but
I'm surprised that Neeb actually is
still
the
worker
one
advantage.
with more workers, right? Especially because ShoWTimE was technically defending better, was able to get a few more worker kills than Neeb as well. Slowly but steady, you know, both these guys absolutely turning it into game. There's that Robo Bay again. Are we going to get that second Robo? But I do feel that every single time ShoWTimE picks up on this, he's probably going to make a very similar attack to what we saw before, even though there's no Blink Stalkers this time. I still think it's going to be roughly the same. I don't really see this Archon drop achieving too much.
well, Warp in here of some charge lots to help him out, and then all of a sudden it looks a little bit more deadly.
Yep.
Oh, this Immortal of Neeb getting caught with its pants down. That looks like it's going to get taken down here.
Actually a little bit surprised that Neeb
that
didn't.
choke point, what? There we go. Alright, so lots of charge, lots of Neeb wanted to get into the fight there, but didn't manage to make it in.
I think if Neeb would have spaced out his Stalkers a little bit more so the Archons didn't do splash damage, I think that would have been a little bit easier to deal with. Now it's going to be double Stargate immediately, but now I wonder, right? Because if Neeb does have all the time in the world, is he going to go Colossus, or is it going to be Disruptors once again?
Disruptors against a guy going double Stargate is actually a bad call. You know, it goes badly for you. He starts Extended Thermal Lance. We're going to see some actual Colossus here from Neeb.
You know what's really cool about like this little dance that they have right now when it comes to strategy is that I think the Colossus are going to be very useful on the ground, but there's definitely a thing as making Colossus. And if your opponent starts making Tempest, I mean, Colossus are really good against everything on the ground, but Tempest are phenomenal against Colossus. I don't think Phoenix is really get the job done. Like, yeah, they do some DPS to the Colossus because obviously they can be attacked by air units, but it just takes forever for a Phoenix to gun down a Colossus. So I hope that ShoWTimE picks up on this quickly, and if he realizes that it's Colossus, I'm kind of expecting a Fleet Beacon out of him.
Yeah, well, it's up to Neeb. Maybe he can catch him with those Colossi. No, Dimara sees it here with those Scouting Phoenixes. Sees a Colossus tech. Hasn't seen a Fleet Beacon just yet. Neeb, in fact, starting a War Prism. Looks like he wants to get across the map and start attacking here.
So he only made the 2 Phoenixes, and I think that's the only thing he's going to make for now. Yep, there's that Fleet Beacon. I really like what ShoWTimE is doing, man. I like what Neeb is doing, and I like what ShoWTimE is doing. They're really displaying some high-level PvP. I know maybe it's not been the most action-packed game yet.
It's been very defensive.
Yep, but I love a lot of the decisions that we've seen. Like, obviously, we see everything. These guys, they only see where their units are, and I still love the majority of the decisions that they've made.
Prismating time to the south here. Does have those Archons within it. And he does have to respect these Colossi. ShoWTimE certainly has a very scary army here, but Neeb's has a little bit more punch to it. His +3 attack's also a little bit further along as well. I think it's a potential upgrade window for Neeb where he's going to have the advantage.
Yep, especially with Thermal Lens showing up. Like, I think if he attacks, while the Tempest count is either at 0 or at 2, I actually kind of like Neeb's chances here. There's that first Tempest on the way. Now, Tempests do build very quickly. They're not like Carriers. Carriers take a long time. Used to take forever. Now they still take pretty long. Tempests actually come out very quickly. But I still think for Neeb, there should be an opportunity to attack with like 4 Colossus. And I think then if you just attack and you really push your army on top of the army of ShoWTimE, yeah, you might lose your Colossi eventually, but they should be able to do way more damage than the Tempests are doing to your army.
Zealot would have seen the Tempest on the way here for ShoWTimE, so Neeb knows. He's got a good number of charge loss in that Colossus count. I think he's on 4 or 6 right now, so that actually is pretty frightening to the ground army of ShoWTimE.
I really think that Neeb should start moving out.
Yeah.
Start
when he
getting
made
ready.
the Prism, he needs to get across the map and do something with it, right?
Yep.
Well, that Archon looks good.
Damn, everything looks good.
Yeah, so 4 Colossus here for Neeb.
I like this as well by ShoWTimE. He's like, okay, like I would like to get like 4 Tempests or something. Can I do that? And Neeb is like, well, yes, maybe not. I mean, obviously recall is available for both players. This is gonna get wild, Maynard.
No. Some Colossi on the backside lagging here. ShoWTimE rotating around the north. Both players are attacking each other with neither player really having too much of the defensive. That Colossus being a move, so he's actually taking a little bit of damage here from those Stalkers. Oh, this attack from ShoWTimE doesn't look like it's going to get stopped. Does Neeb recall or keep going here?
I mean, it's so hard to recall, right? Because recall is kind of tiny and the armies are very, very big. So
yeah,
it's a tough decision to make.
He's going to keep going.
Disrupt on the way. Don't forget about the Dark Shrine, by the way. The Dark Shrine of ShoWTimE is more than halfway done. Now Neeb is like, oh, base trade? I need to get a Dark Shrine too, because Dark Shrines are really good right now, right? Like, yes, absolutely. Neeb's got more army. I think that 1 or 2 Disruptor, by the way. That Disruptor can get a massive shot off. Because in this phase in the game, you're not worried about splitting your army.
Well, Neeb certainly got the worker deficit here. That Disruptor is about to get camped on. Tempests are coming in. One of those Colossi gets picked off from a pretty extreme range. Those Tempests are a huge problem here for Neeb. He can't really deal with them very well.
Yeah, I think if you Neeb, you do recall now, because otherwise you're just a sitting duck for these Tempests. You're not going to get on top of them. He doesn't have Blink Stalkers. Technically, Neeb has nothing that's good against the Tempest, and that's why I like the recall. He's recalling into the main base. Archons do get stuck. At least one of them gets stuck. I wouldn't mind a recall here of ShoWTimE. I don't know if you really want to run home all the way.
Well, some charge loss actually coming in from the south from Neeb, making his retreat a little bit tougher. He recalls, but right in range of these Colossi, he loses quite a bit there.
Yep, ShoWTimE just lost a lot of very expensive units. Both players lost a lot of probes. I mean, this is a wild game. But my question is still, what is Neeb's answer? Like, Neeb's, oh my goodness, he's
what
getting...
a catch.
Yeah. Okay, now he's just getting everything. Now I think Neeb can just keep attacking ShoWTimE. And ShoWTimE knows it. He just is forced to tap out. A lot of money in the bank, still at his Tempest, but he just lost a few too many key units there.
America fights back. 1 apiece. Neeb not going to go down. Not another repeat 3-0 here. Let's be honest, Maru's stats sucked.
Yeah, it did.
This series is already better.
No, Thesis was right. I mean, we laughed when he was hyping up the CVC, but, you know, we're all looking at Maru's stats, but...
There was a few raised eyebrows at the desk here when you said that, but...
you know, we were having a good time with it, but... Yeah, Maru's stats obviously not, you know, delivering what we hoped for and what we expected, but that's all good. These kind of things happen, right? Not every single best of 5 can be the best of 5 of all time. I think this one so far, you know, PvP is funny. Like, you gotta kind of appreciate it, and you gotta focus on the things that make this matchup beautiful. But I thought that second game was really cool, with a lot of very good decisions of both of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Neeb compliments ShoWTimE and how intelligent he is, but Neeb, of course, he's got a pretty big brain between those ears as well. Making some really good calls in that game, making the right decisions with that recall, and also those charge lock flanks, making sure ShoWTimE did not come home with that army. And let's get into game number 3 and see who takes the lead in this series.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty, winning game number 2. Can he win game number 3? Hailing from America, this is...
Ting, Neeb.
Neeb almost looks frightened of his monitor. He just like turns away from it a little bit.
He's like,
oh god, Starcraft so hard. And at the top left here, this guy, hailing from Germany, he is...
Makers, ShoWTimE.
Love all these graphics. Sick production here at GSL. Expect nothing less.
It reminds me of like when I was in high school and the teacher's like, are you paying attention? And I'm like kind of peeking at my monitor. I'm like, yeah, I am. And actually I'm just looking at my monitor. Refreshing the Warcraft 3 Battle.net website. It's like, what rank am I right now?
Warcraft 3 replays.
Yeah, no, those were the days.
That's right.
Reading all the comments like, everybody talk about my play? No, Devin. Devin, pay attention. Like, oh.
Doing a Control F for Rotterdam.
Alrighty, let's see what Game 3 has in store for us. I I loved, like I said, the play of both these guys, and that sounds kind of weird, right? Because normally it's like one person doing really good and the other one doing so-so. But I really liked a lot of the decisions on either side. I thought the recall timing of Neeb was perfect. Like I think it made sense to go for the base trade at first because I think he had a slightly better army. Then suddenly these Tempest show up, you end up losing Colossus. You're like, okay, I gotta get the hell out of here because this is only gonna get worse. Then I do think that ShoWTimE could have recalled a little bit.
You know what? There's room for also tied up with ShoWTimE in this series. I think there's room on the right side of that column there.
Our man Gemini with the memes. Can't wait for tomorrow. Trap is playing. Oh my goodness.
Wow, he's going to be front row center, man. Frothing at the mouth.
Hero is going to be watching and be so disappointed. It's
Ooh.
like, that's a very aggressive robo. That's very close.
Oh, yeah. Right in front of his face here. This is actually something I'm more expected from ShoWTimE. He's been showing a lot of proxies lately in PvP, but Neeb is going for it.
I think that Neeb probably looked at the opening of ShoWTimE previous game. He's like, if you want to go for the traditional route, you know, the Stalker, Sentry, 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 yeah, that's really defensive and it's really good against almost everything. But how good is it against a 3-gate robo opening? My prediction is most of the time it's not very good unless you somehow have the best defense of all time. This time, however, it's just a single Sentry and then he goes into the double Stalker. So we'll see if this Stalker scouts the Robo. That's massive, and the Stalker is going to scout the Robo.
All right,
yeah, that's big.
That's a great start here for ShoWTimE.
Especially because he's got his own Robo as well. So obviously, if it's like 3-gate Robo against 3-gate Robo, the defender advantage is going to be pretty big.
Certainly. So he's shooting down that pylon a little bit here. Stalker getting caught out, but he's going to make it back to safety, back to that high ground. And while Neeb is going to have the faster Immortals, like you mentioned, he's going to have that defender's advantage. How do you feel about these Adepts following up here for Neeb?
Yeah, that's like a kind of a gambling move, right? Like it's just one of those things where it can pay off in a very big way if they shade into the main base and they get a bunch of probe kills. We're like, oh my goodness, the Adepts are so smart. But if they if they're not able to get into the main base, then we're just kind of looking at these Adepts. We're like, oh, they're not as good as like the Stalkers and the Immortal and all the other units that ShoWTimE is working with. So Neeb is just taking a minor risk there. We'll see if it pays off or not.
So you think the guy proxying a Robo is being a bit risky?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Well, not necessarily only because of the proxy, but also because of the Adepts.
Well, the Adepts just shade in. They don't actually complete the shades, giving Neeb a little bit of breathing space down here to the south.
Yeah, but this is also like kind of nice again, right? Like defender's advantage is real in general, but it can also be kind of awkward if you're standing like on top of your ramp and then your opponent is shooting at your gateways from the low ground. Wow, that prism is...
Oh.
Is it a tick?
It's a, I mean, I always call this thing the flying chandelier, but that looks way more like a chandelier than it used to here. Oh, ShoWTimE coming down here into the low ground, pushing Neeb a bit further back here.
Yeah, I kind of like it, right? Because ShoWTimE had a few more units there than Neeb had, and he's like, all right, I'm not in the mood to lose my gateways. I'm not in the mood to give you like a contain where one sentry can really mess things up as well. I don't want to be stuck in my main base. Like, no, if you want to fight, I'll move out again. But ShoWTimE still has to make up his mind because, you know, now the same thing is going to happen. There's that sentry, and that sentry really complicates things.
Yeah, can't too forward. Force fields do get down. The Prism actually saving those units on the other side of the force field here. Yeah. Losing some of his production though, and he does still have that extra gateway.
I know, but like one gateway I guess is alright, but you really don't want to lose the other one as well. The Immortals, I'm going to try to get in range.
Still has that Prism to save it. It takes a little bit of pepper there from the Stalkers. Still Stalker advantage here for ShoWTimE. Neeb still using those Adepts to constantly be a threat and pull ShoWTimE back from the wall. He has to respect it every time.
It's going to be really funny, right? Because like the most likely thing to do for ShoWTimE right now is to make a Robo Bay and go for Disruptors. That's technically the best play. The Adepts on the other side of the map can potentially get a lot of damage done. Is there a full wall over or not?
He has a probe in position, I believe, but I don't know if he's actually walled it off yet.
Who's paying attention?
Well, so those Adept shades are coming on in.
Nope. Okay, this is going to be bad. Oh, this is going to be bad.
Ooh, that's a lot of dead probes right here. There's 3 Stalkers back at home. More defense from Neeb than I thought.
What?
It's a slow warp in there. Or rather, a weird circle graphic glitch there. It's just a little strange. I thought I saw a face in it for a second there. But
I don't know what I saw. Like, I've actually never seen that before. I guess it has to do with the new skins. So 5 probes going down, obviously kind of painful. But I think was really funny is that Neeb already had this target, right? Because the most likely thing for ShoWTimE to do is like, you should go for a Disruptor, that's so smart. But Neeb is like, no, I'm really smart, I'm going for Phoenix. And Neeb's like, ShoWTimE is like, well, you're too smart for your own good because I don't even have a Robo Bay yet, you know? And the Phoenix are going to be a little bit awkward if there are no Disruptors. Okay, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, gets a few Stalkers here. There's actually not enough Stalkers for ShoWTimE to actually comfortably take out these Immortals. And the Prism dancing in the top left here. And enough dead space to stay there forever until ShoWTimE gets an air unit.
And Neeb is going to be able to pick off this pylon. ShoWTimE is just going to go for a Twilight Council and be like, well, good luck with your Stalk, with your Phoenix.
Oh, no! What?
It had 2 Immortals inside of it as well.
Was that an F2? Oh my god.
Oh,
A big blunder there from Neeb. ShoWTimE obviously capitalizes on it.
that's massive. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Wow.
and now you're gonna lose production as well. You're gonna lose your gateway. You're gonna lose your robotics facility. And don't forget that Neeb is now stuck on a Stargate. That's really not gonna be that good. I mean, sure, it can maybe shut down the Prism. It can live the Immortal, but other than that, it's just kind of awkward to have Phoenixes right now, especially of such a low eco game. Phoenixes can be very good, but they need to be in higher numbers. 2 Phoenixes simply don't have, enough value in these kind of fights.
And with the Twilight Council finishing up, ShoWTimE immediately getting that Dark Shrine here to complicate matters. Neeb remaking the robotics facility. I guess ShoWTimE is like, oh, if you don't have a robo, you're not going to have too many observers. So this could potentially work out. But there is Stargate units here for Neeb.
Yeah, I think it's smart, but like even if it doesn't work out, right? Let's say your opponent does remake the robo and there is an observer in place, you can still use them for Archons too. So I kind of like the play here by ShoWTimE. Adapts, alrighty, feisty.
Resonating Glaives. It's like a bit of a Korean PvP thing, but being made here for ShoWTimE. So that's going to be his meat shield instead of the charge lot.
I mean, for Neeb, that's so rough. Like, you lose your robo, you lose your gateway, and the worst thing is that you lost your prism and 2 immortals inside of it as well. Just when they finally started to find a little bit of damage, right? They picked off a couple of stocks,
Yeah,
and
they
it's
were
like,
doing it right.
It's all good. It's not all good.
Feels bad, man. Well, Neeb has got that robo back up and running. He hasn't dropped a robo bay or anything yet. Like, the tier 3 has not been unlocked here for Neeb. He's still chilling on tier 2. Getting a few probes here, and the Phoenixes stay alive. That's always nice. You know, Neeb is up a handful of workers at the moment. It's not hugely consequential.
He needs to make an observer, though.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Especially, I think there's a war prism coming to the other side of the map.
I think he's really afraid of the stalker count of ShoWTimE, maybe.
Yep. He's like, I need an immortal. It's like, oh, you kind of do. Okay, the observer is queued up. That's very big.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still going to be hard to defend with, though, because 2 Dark Templars are about to show up.
Does he see it? He does see it. Oh, the awareness.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's a lot of force
fields.
fields. But still. Now the observer is not done. You need to chrono boost that, because there is a Dark Templar in the main base as well. That's still going to do quite some economic damage. There you have it again.
He's going to recall it here. So he gets 3 probes, saves the DT, and gets on out of there. Denies a lot of mining time in the main base as well. And now Neeb obviously aware of the Dark Templar tech. He's actually, with the force fields, managed to really mitigate the damage down here in the natural. That was really good awareness.
Most of us would have lost 17 probes there. Neeb loses 3. Like, that's really impressive stuff. And Neeb actually has a little bit of money in the bank as well. I mean, he's still in this game, which is very impressive considering the fact that he lost his War Prism with 2 Immortals inside of it in a 1 base against a 1 base scenario.
Well, ShoWTimE's decided that now is the time to attack. The Shades of Neeb might have just seen the edge of that Stalker there, but it's hard to know if there's a big committed attack.
I mean, this army is very powerful of ShoWTimE though, and Resonating Glaives is obviously done. Resonating Glaives so freaking good against Zealots as well, and the Zealot count is not even where it's supposed to be yet. Like, Neeb needs shield batteries, but he doesn't have shield batteries, he doesn't have the money for it either. He's down in workers, and he doesn't seem ready for this attack, Maynard.
Yeah, this might be an A-move victory here from ShoWTimE. Force fields going down to both sides. Of course, the Adepts don't really care about force fields. If they want to shade on through, they will. Prism coming in to assist here for ShoWTimE. Neeb bleeding units and resources here at the front. He had a great hold against those DTs, but this attack is going to end the game. And ShoWTimE, he's going to head towards match point here with a 2-1 lead.
Yep, a lot of Stalkers there in the end for Neeb, and the Stalkers, they just don't really carry their weight in battles like that. I mean, ShoWTimE didn't even really need the Resonating Glaives upgrade there, because the Zealot count wasn't really there yet for Neeb. I think Neeb, ever since he lost that Prism, was just a little too far behind, and those are frustrating games, because Neeb knows that he can never lose the Prism in that phase in the game.
Yeah, really frustrating game death for Neeb. You could see that he's a little bit disappointed in himself. He felt that way a little bit after game 1 as well. And we are going to take a short break here, and when we come back, game 4 will be underway. So don't go away, guys. We'll see you soon.
Seoul, Korea, Free Cup Studio, live. 2019 GSL versus the world.
Welcome back, Starcraft fans. We are in the midst of Neeb versus ShoWTimE. Currently, the American on screen right now, down a map. This guy sitting on match point. One more map victory for him, and he will be moving on to face Stacks in the next round.
And that would be the second year in a row that ShoWTimE would make it into the runoff phase. That's obviously impressive. It's hard to get to this tournament in the first place. Some might be like, well, it's just voting. It's like, well, it's hard to get all those votes, okay? It's hard to collect, to convince this nerd world that you deserve to be here. And then obviously winning your opening match is very impressive. But we're not there yet. We know that Neeb has what it takes to turn it around, and Cyberforce is going to be our next map. Are we going to see crazy stuff, mainly?
I think maybe this is the time to do it. Cyberforce, the shortest map in the map pool, and very, very proxy heavy, this map. I don't remember the last time I saw us PvP on this map where there wasn't a proxy Stargate or a Robo out there.
I just want to see cannons in the natural main art.
Cannons in the natural. That also happens on this map.
Yep.
Remember that Zest base trade? He just retakes the main in the takes his opponent's main in this matchup.
No, it has provided some absolutely hilarious moments. Even between these two. WSG earlier this year, it was awesome. The game is ready. Let's get it on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the bottom right here, currently against the ropes, but definitely has it within him to get the ace match. This is
Ting, Neeb.
Mr. 2017 himself, 3-time WCS World Champion.
Something we'd never seen before. I was like, I've never seen this kind of dominance in the foreign scene. And then Sarah was like, hold my beer. It's like,
And in the top left, he's a WCS champion as well. This is
Makers, ShoWTimE.
That DreamHack Tour was good fun, that tournament was.
yeah, great final back then against Nurcho. Absolutely fantastic, best of 7, I think, one for the books. But yeah, it's really crazy, right? Because like we often obviously had dominant players outside of Korea in our own little scene for the longest time. It doesn't really matter what period you think of. There were always a couple that stood out. Stefano was the one that stood out the most for the longest time, perhaps in the early years. And then Neeb's 2017, I was like, guys, like, yeah, I know we all have nostalgic and warm feelings towards everything that Stefano did. But what Neeb is doing here is ridiculous. He's just like not losing to almost anyone. It's like, okay, he dropped the series here and there, but this is so damn impressive. And I was like, you know what? You can do it better. You can just like not lose at all. It's like, no, that's not possible, okay? Everybody's supposed to lose.
What was Cyril's streak again? Like 58 series or something?
Yep.
It was like,
and then he only lost the online one. That kind of ruined it.
against Neeb.
Yeah. It was almost a full year. Like it started, I think, like 2018, March, April-ish. WSG, I think, was the last time he lost, or Katowice, one of the two.
Katowice was his first series dropped.
Yeah, I know, like in 2019, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it went from WSG in China until Katowice. If you don't count,
insane.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like a 9-month run.
It's not supposed to happen. No, it's like full year.
Oh, there you go.
Or at least 10 months. But yeah, obviously Neeb, like you said, Mr. 2017. He's great, but he does seem to struggle a little bit with his German counterpart, ShoWTimE Die Mauer. And ShoWTimE has just been playing really good so far in this best of 5.
Yeah, he's been looking really clean. This feels like definitely, you know, Neeb's the guy that makes more mistakes here. I mean, obviously there's some big blunders like the Prism with Immortals going down, some air army control mishaps, some boo-boos, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, PvP can be very fun, but it's also a very unforgiving matchup. And I mean, it's brutal to think like, oh, did he really just lose the game because he made like one misclick with his War Prism? It's like, well, yeah, because that Prism had some very precious cargo. I mean, that's like 600-700 resources down the drain immediately.
Yep.
It's just too much. Like if it's a one base against one base scenario, you simply, like if somebody would lose, let's say, you know, like you run 20 Zerglings into one Baneling, people are like, huh, that's why he lost, right? Like, yeah, that's obvious. Like in PvP, it's all a little bit slower, so it's like, did he really lose because of this? Like, yeah, because that's that massive.
That's
that
just
Prism,
less units.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's so expensive. And of course, you know, we see that wall up there from ShoWTimE. You get 2 Adepts into a mineral line, that's potentially game ending as well. So, yeah, have to respect that the whole game long.
Especially if the units are out of position. It's something we saw a lot in the early days of PvP. I remember when the Adepts came out and I started playing Legacy Void, I was like, oh my god, this is so stupid. Like, this is never going to stop. I can't do anything against it. And then obviously eventually everybody becomes really smart and it's like, no, this doesn't work anymore.
This is the way it works. People just get good. So really just mirrored builds from both players for the most part, although a shield battery has been thrown down for Neeb just to It's being a little bit safer here. Make sure that his probes don't take any damage from potentially a Stargate or something like that, which he hasn't actually scouted or not.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised to see both of them building their tech building at home, right? It's not necessarily the standard these days, not the norm in PvP. I mean, you said like Cyberforce, they always proxy.
Always, yeah.
And obviously when you say that, they don't. But I'm with you, man. This is a map where I've seen a lot of aggressive builds and a lot of proxies in general. Whoa, yeah, exactly. If I was Neeb, I would be like, well, to be honest, ShoWTimE kind of handled that very well. He wants to get one more, but he's not going to get one more.
Would love to get that sentry, but ShoWTimE's not going to let that happen. He gets a couple probes. I mean, it's not nothing, but certainly not the greatest trade in the world.
I absolutely can't blame Neeb for thinking that was a good one, though. I'd be like, yeah, jackpot. And it's like, suddenly he's like, well, I mean, he still got 2, right? It could have been worse. I've gotten 0. Don't ask me how. You're supposed to always get 1, right?
I want to say it happens to the best of us, but maybe not. Prism is out for ShoWTimE early again, so really wanting to get aggressive here in the game. Neeb, same thing. Prism very quickly.
Prism's obviously very good offensively and defensively. There are 4 adepts right now on the side of ShoWTimE. It makes me wonder, like, what is he going to try to do? Oh, is he going to do that trick? He's going to try to shade on top of the sentries, and then the Prism flies in, and he's going to pick up the adepts. This is the old ShoWTimE trip. He busted this out in the WCS Global Finals like 2 years ago. Once again on top of the sentries, and he does get on top of at least the first sentry. Now the Prism is here. Pick those adepts up. Well done, ShoWTimE.
Yeah, cool strat there. He gets 1 sentry, so the shield battery made sure that he didn't get 2.
ShoWTimE was the very first one I ever saw that saw him do that. I don't know, it was against Zest or something at like King Sejong Station. He's gonna try it one more time, and he's gonna get that sentry as well. ShoWTimE is really on point so far.
Man.
Even grabs 2 workers there as well. But you gotta be careful here with your Prism.
Yeah, looks like that thing's stuck for now.
Oh well.
That was an all position.
Yep.
Neeb doing a little bit of that action as well with his adepts on the other side of the map. Just using 2 here, but one-shotting a few of those.
Oh,
no, ShoWTimE!
It was an whole position in range of... If Neeb would have used that other Stalker, by the way, that's a dead Prism.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah. I mean, obviously I can't blame Neeb there, right? Because Neeb is clearly focused on his own harass. So both players is trying to feel like whatever they should prioritize. But if Neeb could have reversed that, that would have been a massive pickoff.
He's like, watch, I can do it too. He's going for that sentry. Gonna get it. 2 shots that.
It's like, ShoWTimE, really good move. Would be a shame if I would copy it.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. ShoWTimE would be like, oh, that's nice. Thank you, Neeb.
Yeah.
So the Twilight Council, or rather Templar Archive, has been dropped here for ShoWTimE a little bit earlier than Neeb's. These Twilight Council's a little bit later. But really, like, very, very close builds from both players. You see that Neeb is definitely looking to drop a Templar Archives or a Dark Shrine himself, whichever way he wants to go. But both will open up the Archon path, and it is going to be the Templar Archives.
I really feel this Prism is so big, by the way. It feels like an even more juicier target for Corrosive Bowels. It's like, you can't miss anymore. It's like, no.
Maybe it has a bigger hitbox.
No, absolutely.
That'd be nice.
No, that'd be terrible. Then nobody would. Damn it, Maney. All right. So what I'm happy though is that, like, even though both players made some good moves there, that it's still very even, right? Like, we want to see, you know, these guys get the proper armies out there. And, you know, if one player is just clearly going to end it with the Immortal Archon Zealot, then that's the way it is. But I don't want 2 adepts to end games. Unfortunately for us, that's not going to be the case. Neeb is focusing on the res. Obviously, ShoWTimE doing the same thing on the other side of the map. That's 4 adepts once again. But ShoWTimE needs to prioritize his defense as well. That's why maybe his focus fire was a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, both players losing quite a bit here. This double Immortal Prism stuff that we know Neeb loves. It's finding a good bit of damage as long as he doesn't lose his Prism.
He
killed the Stalkers. He's killed the Stalkers, so he can just dance around these Zealots.
Yep. Sees Immortal say they can dance all day, and that's exactly what they're doing. You can go for that pylon as well. That's a juicy pylon, by the way, if you get that pylon.
Certainly is powering quite a bit here.
Wow, that's a lot of work, is it?
Wow. Oh, that trade was seemed better for Neeb there.
Yep.
He's definitely got the bigger army as well. Those Immortals and the Prism are still alive this game, which means they're a part of the army when it does happen. This Prism's still quite damaged.
Yep.
Okay. Gotta respect this.
A lot of Stalkers on the side of Neeb, right?
Yeah.
It almost feels like he's really hoping to catch his Prism once. But it's so hard without Blink.
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't have Blink, though. Blink's certainly not something you really want in the later stages of PvP. It's like an early game thing, and that's basically it.
Hey, guys.
Drop your Immortals, I dare you. Dare you. You won't.
He's like, surprise. I exchanged them for Archons. He's like, how did you do that?
That's some magic trick if you manage to do that.
Neeb just wiped in like 7 High Templars, by the way, or 8 even in total. He already had 1. He's going to try his luck one more time with the Immortals.
Now.
Yep. Charge is done. He's not gonna get that stock here. I would have loved to see Neeb go for that pylon, because I think if he would have unpowered the Forge there, I actually think he sets himself up for a very easy, like, Archon Immortal,
Yeah, I mean,
Zealot follow-up attack.
speaking of the Forge, he's really just neglecting +2 here. I think he just wants to go for a big attack with his army and not worry about upgrades too much. Certainly does have the bigger army at the moment.
Yeah, and that's another very big weapon as well. This is going to be very tough for ShoWTimE, who's spreading himself thin, obviously. He wants to defend both locations. Going to be hard. +2. Is he going to cancel it? No, he's going to not cancel it. So he's going to try to somehow survive until that upgrade kicks in. But ShoWTimE already ends up losing 6 probes very quickly.
Yeah, this is already looking a little bit rough here for the German player. He's going to get a warp in here. Chargeless trying to hold that line. He does have that high ground advantage and a nice concave.
Yep.
Third base losing quite a few probes here, so Neeb's definitely with a bigger economy, and he starts +2. So Neeb going to have a much later upgrade here. He's respecting the defense of ShoWTimE, but picking off this third Nexus, that's a really nice target.
Yeah,
ShoWTimE can't save it.
No, it's really hard to go up this ramp, and Neeb knows it. So I actually think that Neeb is making a very mature decision here. It's like, all right, I'll set up for the worker damage, I'll set up for the Nexus. ShoWTimE is going to try to counterattack, though. I think that's the Prism, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's a risky play. I actually think that might force Neeb to just A-move. No, Neeb's going to just Rico instead.
Brings back his own Prism with a double Immortal in there.
It's like, let's bring back the units that don't shoot up.
Well, he just wants Immortals. Immortals are good against Immortals, what can I say?
They are.
So they're just going to chase each other around here.
I really
the
think
Immortals of ShoWTimE definitely hit harder. Ooh, Neeb losing a couple units here.
without a Prism at home. Oh no, ShoWTimE, you gotta get back up that ramp. ShoWTimE! I think he wasn't paying attention. He was paying attention to his War Prism.
And it's not going super well for him there either. Neeb with a big Archon advantage here. Those charge lots of ShoWTimE are melting.
Yep, actually, if Neeb would have left the Prism here, he would have absolutely been able to go up that ramp. I really think that was such a crazy call by ShoWTimE. Like, I liked it, right? Because he's losing a Nexus, he needs to do something. But I also think if I'm Neeb, and I think like my opponent doesn't have a defensive Prism, and misses 2 Immortals at home, I'm pretty sure I can run up this ramp. Even though the initial fight is going to be bad, I think that with the longevity that I have, and the Prism that I have, and the ability to save my units, I actually think Neeb could have just walked up this ramp. But the way that Neeb is handling this right now is also quite beautiful.
And Neeb's in a really good spot here. Oh, nearly gets that Immortal. Chasing down the Prism, he gets the Immortal!
And now he might get the War Prism as well.
Nope. Oh, no, but he still had put in on a lot of pepper on that Immortal there. Prism's still quite low, forced to recall here. Keep in mind that ShoWTimE's been contained this whole time.
Yep.
Neeb's had that 3 base. He's about to have +2 as well, so the upgrade advantage that ShoWTimE has is about to go away.
And look at the Archon advantage.
Woo.
8 Archons on the
9
side
now.
of Neeb. 9. Says the German Protoss.
9. And 9 is what he's going to say when he
9.
sees this defensive line of Neeb.
No, that's not something you really want to see, especially not when you know your opponent has a base more and has a few more probes as well. I mean, this is just tough, right? Like, what do you do if you ShoWTimE? It's like, on one end, you really want to attack. On the other end, it's like, can I attack? Normally, the answer is no. But hey, in PvP, like, these Archon fights can get very clumsy. Sometimes the engagement is key, and you can absolutely turn around the deficit. But
he's setting up a big front here. But it feels like Neeb has so many Archons that as long as he pulls back and lets these charge lots come into this funnel, his Archons will just melt this line of ShoWTimE's units.
That was kind of bad to have the Stalkers there in front, but I guess they're simply not that important. Neeb is setting up his own little sandwich as well. Take a look at the right bottom side of your screen. You can see a couple of Zealots and Archons there as well. And Neeb knows that time is on his side. ShoWTimE is still on 2 bases. Neeb is on 3. The German Protoss needs to make something happen.
This fight started off well for Neeb there. He got some shots off of the charge loss. The charge loss going up that ramp. But look at all these Archons of Neeb. They are just cutting through this line of Demour. And I think we might be seeing a game 5 here pretty shortly. Rotterdam. Neeb is holding this line pretty strong.
And there's shield batteries in the back as well. So a couple of these Archons that get saved. They get some extra HP. Neeb is going to clean up all of these units.
America fights back. And we're going to get a game 5 here. And I mean, when you look at all the series that we had on the card for today, this is one of those ones that I knew would go to Game 5, man. Like, these guys are too closely matched. They just always have fun series. Like you said, they just always have really fun series. And what's more fun than the maximum amount of maps in a series like this?
Yep, and a Game 5 between NA's best Protoss and Europe's best Protoss. And I still think that even though these games have been fun, they have more to offer. Like, there is always a chance that they give us something truly epic. And we know they're capable of it. I mean, ShoWTimE probably thinks like, oh, the game was going all right. It's like, yeah, it was, but I mean, once again, they kind of made similar plays, right? Like, ShoWTimE is doing it with 4 adepts, Neeb is doing it with 2 adepts. They're just going back and forth, trading blows. I mean, these 2 guys are pretty much as evenly matched as 2 players can possibly be.
And the score in the games as well have been indicating that. So let's go to New Repugnancy here for our final map of the series. It just starts to load up here. Will America win in the end, or will Europe assert its dominance once more? Let's get amongst it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the bottom left here for the last time in this series, hailing from America, he is...
Ting, Neeb.
And it's upright as well for our final map. Demauer himself, he is...
Makers, ShoWTimE.
Now before we talk about all the beauty that Game 5 has to offer, you guys don't want to tune out yet. I know a lot of you nerds are like, alright GG, that's it, I'm out of here, I don't need to see these outros. Today, you want to stick around, because we're going to do the team selection process.
Right.
With Team Dark going up against Team Serral.
Team who, sorry? Team Dark?
Yep, that's,
All right,
I can't change it, Maynard.
You can't change it, no.
I mean, to be honest, like, even if it was Team Maru, right, after that performance today, that would have also been a little,
Team stats, I guess.
yeah, that would have been pretty justified, right, for the amount of second places that guy had. But I think that just went by who won the most recent GSL. Maru was like, come on, I won 4 in a row. This is not fair at all. It's going to be really cool. Same rules as kind of last year. We'll talk you guys through it, but it's kind of like, you know, Serral picks a Korean first, and then I think Dark picks a
a world player.
Yep, a world player first, and then they go kind of back and forth. But what I really wonder about, right, is like, does Serral pick Maru first? Because that's really what I want to know. Because if he picks Maru, then obviously Maru's going to be on his team. But then it's also like, hey, is he afraid? You know, like, it would be...
I think Serral picks stats, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy
It's like,
pick
hey,
there
buddy,
first.
like, you and I, we
man.
meet in all these tournaments. Like, yeah, I think you're onto something. And I think that Classic is going to be very quickly picked as well.
Yeah, he's a hot commodity right there.
Yep.
Also Classic tomorrow.
And what I wonder about is, like, does Elaser get like a lot more respect now, right?
I think so, yeah.
Do they pick Elaser a little bit quicker than they would have otherwise?
I don't think he's going to be the skinny, unfit nerd on the bench that gets picked last for the sports team. Not this time.
It's not going to be Roddy in high school.
Well, as we can see, both players really respecting the potential of a proxy here, going for lots of scouting information out there with those probes, and a much faster robotics facility for Neeb as he continues to amass a few adepts.
Yep. Now in the old days, like, you would immediately say, like, is he gonna go 3-gate robo or aggression? Like, that's always a possibility. But it could also just be for a very quick prism, and then they make a couple of plays with the adepts. I mean, these guys are so good with both these styles. Does ShoWTimE not have a tag path yet? Is he
He's
just
still got
waiting?
Stalker and Warpgate. Yeah, no Twilight Council, no
Is this
Robo.
gonna
It's
expand?
going to expand, okay. It's
All
risky.
right. Can he hold 3-gate Robo then? I mean, at least the Robo's not proxied, right? So you've got that going for yourself. And your opponent also open up with adepts, which means that they're not necessarily going to be the best fighting units. But this is risky, especially on Neo Repugnancy, and I say that because there's no ramp going into the Natural, right? I think it's always a little bit easier to defend your Nexus if you have a ramp to rely on here. But no, this is just even ground. So defender's advantage, what does it really mean?
I'm with you there. It's a really good point.
I mean,
Showtime.
but ShoWTimE is going to scout it, and this is obviously a scenario that these European producers are very, very familiar with. I mean, I would say the Koreans as well, but Koreans are like, no, I'm not going to expand them. It's like, my opponent always kills me if I expand. Like Neeb, I think like if you go for this kind of a build, you're kind of hoping to go up against everything that ShoWTimE is doing, right? You look at the Robo timings, ShoWTimE is only now starting his Robo, Neeb's Robo's already done, but Neeb is actually expanding as well. Doesn't think that he can just run to the other side of the map and make magic happen.
Okay.
Maybe quite confident that he's at least going to force out shield batteries, right? Because that ShoWTimE knows that he's going to need them. And then maybe Neeb is like, you know what? I'm just going to fake it. I'm just going to try to maybe get a little bit of damage with the adepts. And we'll give you guys at home a proper game 5.
I can load up the Prism and just rely on some units at home to make sure his natural gets up without too much of a fuss, and then...
Like the thing about what Neeb is doing right now is that like he doesn't necessarily know for sure that
bit of supply
ShoWTimE
block.
doesn't have 2 adepts. Like imagine if 2 adepts show up right now.
Big block there on 47 for Neeb. Starts the pylon. Nexus is only halfway done.
ShoWTimE scouts at War Prism with his hallucinated Phoenix, and that's a big one. Neeb drops the Forge. So he's truly ready for a longer game.
Well, Neeb's tracked down this pylon here, and his Prism is being looked at, so don't expect him to lose it this game. There's a lot of Stalkers. Really can't really do a whole lot in the main here of ShoWTimE.
Yep. I think if I'm Neeb right now, I just try to save my my pylon for a little bit. Oh, actually, no, that's ShoWTime's
Yeah,
pylon,
ShoWTimE's
right?
pylon. That's Neeb Stalker shooting it.
Easy peasy then. It's a single Immortal in this Prism, but even a single Immortal can gun down probes quite quickly, so it's obviously very important for ShoWTimE to have units in the right place there. But don't forget about those 2 adepts that are still lurking in the shadows.
Yeah, constant threat. The Immortal coming down. It does 2-shot probes, so
Yep.
he gets one pretty quickly there, going for the Extractor ones or the Assimilator ones.
And
Gives
it's
him
a
still
lot of
plenty
lost
hit
mining
points.
time.
Yeah, he's got dead space in the top right of the map as well.
I think like whenever the first move like that happens, you're always quite pleased. You're like, hey, I did some damage.
Ooh.
These adapts. Oh, they actually get split up. I mean, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, it is a
What do
little
we do now? It's like, no. It was supposed to be you and me.
My sister was separated.
It was supposed to be you and me till the bitter end, but now the Immortal shows up, gets a few more kills. And what's ShoWTimE really doing against all of this? He doesn't really have anything that's actually out on the map right now, right? There is no Prism. No Pylon anymore, no Adepts. So ShoWTimE just purely living up to his name. Demour. He's just focused on defending at this point.
Well, I mean, Neeb did need to do something like this because his Nexus was so much later. He had a lot fewer workers.
But weird, by the way.
Okay, Prism getting the Bifrost cold for the Prism. Come back home.
And if this gets scouted, right? Like, imagine if Neeb just runs out right now and collapses on this army. That's a very wonky, winky-dinky army. Like, what is that?
Wonky, winky-dinky.
I don't know, mate. Like, it's weird, okay?
All right. I'm with you there.
It's not impressive. There's no Prism. Yeah. These Stalkers are still at home as well. If I'm Neeb, I'd actually run towards that army and try to fight it before all of those extra units showed up. But Neeb decides to not do that. I feel like
the Prism with 2 Immortals actually can beat that army, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With a little bit of micro, right? You activate the barrier once, you wait until the barrier is gone, shoot at the Immortal, and the sentries, they'll just be tickling you.
Luckily for ShoWTimE, that army didn't get caught in the middle of the map. Just both players using hallucinations for a little bit of scouting information here. There goes those double Immortals going for that probe line. Neeb really loves this strat.
Yeah,
I mean, it's paying dividends, man.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of damage.
Yep.
I
really don't think
advantage.
What did Neeb really lose in this game? It's like the 2 Adepts. I think that's about it, right? Like, I don't think he really lost anything else. And slowly but steady, the amount of kills that he's been able to get with his harassment is really starting to rack up. And that's really going to show when these armies are truly going to grow to where they're supposed to be when it comes to the amount of Zealots and Archons and Immortals.
Archon drop. Once again, ShoWTimE getting Identity Crisis here, thinking this is a PvZ.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're able to unload the Archons in the middle of a mineral line, it is super
good.
nice, especially because I don't think Neeb has a lot of Stalkers, right? So dealing with Archons when you have like Zealot Sentry standing there this phase in the game, that can be very awkward. I'm really curious to see if ShoWTimE can get some good damage done. I mean, that 1 Immortal is going to be nice, but that's about it.
He goes for the probes here, and they are stacking up a little bit. Archons do some nice splash damage. He gets a couple probes. Neeb, of course, probably going to throw in a couple Stalkers to help out with the defense here back at home. ShoWTimE once again with a faster +2. Neeb, once again, looks like he's going to have that Archon advantage.
Oh, hidden base mainly in the right bottom side.
The YOLO third from ShoWTimE.
Yeah.
Pulling out the weird stuff in game number 5 here.
It's so weird as well, but Neeb is already expanding. This Warp Razor might actually just fly straight into it, but it goes to fly into the army. Oh no, no, Neeb, not again.
Oh, he sees it. Okay.
That's so massive.
And no blink, so.
Ooh, that's massive. And ShoWTimE actually prevents now his hidden base getting scouted as well, so that's kind of cool.
I mean, the pathing of the units of ShoWTimE isn't too suspicious. You don't see that and go, oh, there's a third there. No. You're like, oh, you know, he's just trying to...
He saw my Prism.
Yeah, he's just trying to pull back.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't really give Neeb a whole lot of information.
You know, it's going to be... I mean, I find this so nerve-wracking to watch, by the way. Like, I'm not even playing, but I feel like Game 5 in a PvP, and it's like losing a Prism can end it, like 2 Adepts can technically end the game. It's like, oh my goodness, like, I wouldn't want to be either of these guys right now. I'm so happy to just be standing here and talking about it, because there's so many very tough decisions they have to make. Tournament lives on the line. Neeb is like, I'm going 3 base. My opponent still has 2 bases. Like, I can't build any probes right now, right? Like, do I build a Robo? Like, I really want Disruptors or maybe Colossus, but can I afford it? Like, you don't just want to roll over and die against that Zealot Archon attack that you know can always happen on any given moment in this matchup.
So Neeb would want that second Robo if he wants to see that strat. Oh, wow. What a catch from Neeb. Gets a handful of probes, and now he knows about the third base. So now
he can
Neeb
probe himself.
He can probe himself. He can also try and attack one place of ShoWTimE's infrastructure while the other one's a little bit too far away.
Oh, this is going to be kind of awkward for Neeb to defend. Look at his own army. The sentries are on hold position, so the Archons can't show up.
Did he lose the Prism?
Yep, I think he lost the Prism.
Oh, and he loses Immortal as well. Unfortunate there for Neeb. That really was a nice little edge that he had on that side of the map against ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE still has that Prism with the Archons in it, right?
I hope he does. I mean, I don't see a big drop in supply. So yes, still active, getting a couple of very good shots up. I mean, his Archon rest is definitely starting to pay off. And it's just like so annoying for Neeb to deal with, because what does Neeb really have that's quick, mobile, and shoots up? It's like nothing. Like, at least if you have your own defensive Prism, you can kind of juggle your Archons in the right position. But since Neeb lost his Prism, he needs to wait until the Prism comes back. Still a very close game, though. And kind of an awkward game now as well. Look at the amount of Zealots. Jeez. That's a lot. That single Disruptor, there's so much potential. Maynard, I can't handle this. Game 5 PvP. Nobody deserves this.
If only we could just start over from zero again and just watch this series forever instead of letting someone get eliminated.
Second Robo now on the way as well for Neeb, but I kind of think that that's soon going to be go time for ShoWTimE. I must say, like, I thought that ShoWTimE had a lot of Zealots, but apparently Neeb has like pretty much the same amount of Zealots. But he's getting the Disruptors.
ShoWTimE going to get into the main base here with those Archons, or at least hit the third. There we go. So the Disruptor tech hasn't really been shown just yet. And if he gets caught with a Nova, if the first thing you see of a Disruptor is it firing a Nova at you defensively, then that's bad news for you.
Especially because you have so many Zealots, right? And it's like, how are you really going to handle this? I love that warping of Stalkers. You don't want to have Stalkers in this phase of the game, but it hides the tech just a little bit longer. I mean, ShoWTimE's army is coming, but the first Disruptor is out. I mean, this is going to be hard, though. Can you really attack up a ramp here? I mean, you look at the...
that's two Disruptors with a third one on the way.
Yep,
oh,
and
boy.
double Robo as well, right? So you can always get out another one. I mean, ShoWTimE is going to get a much quicker +3, and that's massive. But I definitely prefer the Disruptors over +3.
Yeah, the Disruptors don't care about your attack upgrades. They will one-shot all
or
of your
armor.
Zealots, or your army in general. All right, ShoWTimE sees the Disruptors here in this army.
Yeah,
Does ShoWTimE still commit for an attack? He loses his Observer.
I don't know, man. That's so risky now. He drops the 2 Stargates, and I think that's the wise... I think that's the best decision that ShoWTimE can make. It's just a little bit too late.
Oh, Neeb wants to fight.
Yep, I can't blame him. He's got Disruptors. He's going to be able to surround at least one Archon
Oh,
here.
nice amount of Zealots there, and also an Archon picked off in the backside.
And I hear Todd suddenly, look at the supply, guys. Neeb still maxed out. He's chasing down this army, and Neeb has so much potential in his army. With these Disruptors, he can just keep firing, and there is nothing that ShoWTimE can do. He needs to run.
Oh, the Immortal getting tagged there by the Novas, so losing some sentries as well, and the Zealots finish it off. Neeb's not slowing down, Roddy. He's coming in for the kill.
Neeb did such a good job in hiding this for long enough, and ShoWTimE's like hidden base not really paying off. It just kind of turned into a very awkward game, and suddenly you look at an army of Neeb and you ask yourself, how is ShoWTimE ever going to deal with this army of Neeb?
Well, ShoWTimE's going to deal with it by not dealing with it. He's going across the map to try and attack Neeb's third. Oh, he's pulling back here. And Neeb just breaks off the Zealots to just ravage the mineral line here. Neeb starts attacking that third. The Disruptors are still here covering that line as well. And he has this high ground location. This is so awkward for ShoWTimE. What does he do with his army here?
Yeah, I just don't know. Because like he's looking for a good engagement, but there is no good engagement against all these Disruptors. So he needs to buy time for his Phoenixes to come out. I don't know, it's a little bit of everything.
Oh,
I guess.
The Disruptors!
They're coming
Disruptors
in from every
are coming
angle.
in for Neeb! He actually connects with a few of his own units there, but also hitting on ShoWTimE's.
That's actually a really good fight for ShoWTimE at first. Obviously, there's units coming in from the left side. Can he get on top of the Disruptors? This is kind of what he's doing with all of the Zealots. Good job there with the War Prism. Neeb saving as many units as he can. I mean, that went way better for ShoWTimE than I ever thought it was supposed to. But he's still in a lot of trouble this game.
Yeah, his economy's been really hit hard here. You know, yes, he has +3 attack, but Neeb, he's got the Disruptor tech, he's got the Robotics Pay, he's got Colossus as well. I didn't even know if he started Extended Thermal Lance, but that is such a tough unit for ShoWTimE to deal with right now, even with double Stargate.
Yeah, how many Disruptors still left? 4 of them. I mean, if ShoWTimE gets a good engagement right here, this is pretty much it. ShoWTimE knows that it's now or never. He's too far behind. Tournament live on the line. Here we go, Maynard.
He needs to lift up the Disruptors here. They are so important for Neeb's defense and also for the attack of ShoWTimE. Neeb shooting at the Nova and nearly connected with his own stuff there. He's pulled back to his third. Another Nova from Neeb. Going for the Archons. It connects. ShoWTimE is actually doing it here.
Oh my
God. The Prism gets knocked back. Oh man, Neeb pushed way back away from his third base here.
There are 2 Colossus somewhere. They're not here. If I'm Neeb, I would send those units away. You cannot afford to lose all those Archons, even though he's trying to buy some time. Neeb's still
on the
ahead.
high ground.
Yeah, that one Colossus in the high ground actually doing some really good work, but the Phoenix is going to start working on it. ShoWTimE has the attack upgrade advantage, but he's running so low on units.
Yeah, ShoWTimE does get that Colossus, but Neeb still has the ground army. He still has that charge like warping. ShoWTimE going to reinforce.
The economy is just so big, right? Like,
yeah.
That was a really good fight by ShoWTimE at first, and ShoWTime's still trying to make the best of it. But I think Neeb is just a little too rich. The American Protoss is starting to look very good over here.
He certainly is. This is really dire straits for ShoWTimE. He's losing his Archons. He's given up. Neeb fighting back and getting himself a 3-2 victory. And he will move on to face stats. ShoWTimE has been a problem for Neeb in the past. Very recent history, actually.
Yep.
But it's so good for Neeb to get that revenge finally. And in Korean stage, no less, here at the Africa studio. That's got to be a satisfying win right there.
Yeah, in 2018, in 2 big WCS events, ShoWTimE was able to knock out Neeb of those events. But this time, Neeb gets a very big one. Big W over here in ShoWTimE.
That's right, and the USA Chance wrecking the holes here at the Africa studio.